Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that I had just recorded a close to 40-minute live, and the live was being recorded in private. Oh my goodness. Well, welcome everyone. Here we are, round two. I am Coach Sherry, and I appreciate you all for being here and tuning in. This is day 58 of my going live every day for 90 days. And this is also part of my podcast series, Real Talk with Coach Sherry. And the topic tonight is transform in your personal relationship. I see Big Boy Snacks. Johnny TV is here. Hello, good evening to you. Hope you're doing well. Slasher Chick, great to see you. Great live today. I really was hoping that I could have talked and, let it type or whatever, transcribe, because I wanted to say, no, that's good. And just kind of share with you how the things that the AI was giving you were some pretty good tips. Not all for sure, but there definitely were some good tips. And I'm excited to share this information, transforming your personal relationship. I just wish I would have had the other live in public. And since I'm on my iPad, I couldn't go back and redo it so that it was public. I probably could have, but I didn't want to take the chance. And here we are. Because, when you go out of StreamYard, at least when I go out, I haven't figured this out, but when I go out, a lot of times it cuts it off. It's like, all right, it's a wrap, it's done. So I said, let me just go and delete the private one and redo it, just to, because I really want to get this information out. So, as you all know, I have, or may not know, I have three young adult children, and we've been talking to them about relationships since they were young. They've seen relationships, between my husband and myself. Both of our parents are married. Unfortunately, my father in law has passed away, as well as my mother, but my children primarily grew up with they no they with their both their sets of grandparents and their parents, so they could see what a relationship looked like. No, you did not miss my first live. I actually deleted it because it was privated, and I don't know how I did that, but it was crazy. It was bananas, actually. um so I deleted it so that I can just start over, and so I'm just trying to make sure that I can do it. You know how first time's a charm? I usually don't like to re-record or do over. I just kind of like one and done. So we'll see how this goes. But looking at how relationships are now, it is so interesting the way that people are meeting each other, the way that they're dating. They call it hooking up now. And I'm still trying to keep at least my children on that traditional route. And I really want them to have success in finding that perfect person, but in the meantime I want them to be that perfect person. I've been praying for my children's spouses since they were 3 years old. Once they turned 3, I figured that their spouse is born. you know I figured 3 years younger or older or around the same age, their spouse is born. And my prayer was that their future spouse would have a great experience growing up, would be in a loving environment, a nurturing environment, an environment where they were taught to receive love, to give love, and to love themselves. And, you know, I also prayed that for my children. I always, my prayer for them has always for them to be humble and kind, and to have integrity and to be good people all around, a person that other people would not mind being around, because there's a lot of people in this world that not too many people want to be around. And I definitely didn't want my children to be one of those. I didn't want them to come into the room and people say, "Oh, here they come," like, hide your purse, or, these no good, or, y'all, this is going to be trouble. Here come trouble. I never wanted that to be their narrative. So, the prayers were real and they thus far have been answered. No, my children are not married yet, but in due time, and I recognize that dating and relationships are different now. And I'm not saying that young people aren't still getting married, and I'm not saying that marriage is the end all be all. But, to be in a relationship is comforting, it's nice. But the most important within a relationship, even before you get into a relationship, is to have that relationship with yourself, to transform yourself so that you can be in a good and productive personal relationship. Now, I wanted to talk about the transform part because so many people put out their wish list of what their most amazing mate would be. They always are talking about, oh, this person should have this type of maybe career. When I was in my 20s, I remember my friends, oh, I want to, I deserve a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, or whatever. And but then you look at what they're doing and it's like, is that comparable? Like, what are we talking about? So you want to definitely make sure that you are just as good or better than what you actually want to enter into your life. And I see East Dad is in the building. Yes, I hope you have a great evening too. And you know what, East Dad, I enjoyed your live, and I've come into a few of them in the past, and even though I don't play video games to that extent, I enjoy looking at them. I think it's amazing. That you are able to dress them and change them up the way you do. I don't know. It's just interesting, and it's kind of cool to have conversations throughout the game. So I appreciate you for welcoming me in to your lives. So thank you. And so again, this podcast, this live is about transform in your personal relationship. So the key is to really focus on your own personal growth and self-improvement rather than trying to change for your partner. I've encountered so many women throughout the years that have tried to change themselves for their partners, and that often ends in a disaster for one or both. And I know that I'm saying women because I am a woman, and that's who, when it comes down to the relationships maybe not working out well, it's the women that communicate with me in many cases. Now, I don't always agree with, while you're in your relationship, and maybe if there's some challenging moments, I don't always agree with having those conversations with your circle. I remember on the day of my wedding, before leaving to go to the church, and my mother, embracing me, and she said, "Listen, if anything happens between you and your husband, it's none of me or your father's business or your in-laws' business. That's your husband, that's your spouse. You need to work that out together. We love him, and we don't want to look at him differently because of a moment that the two of you've had. Because you both are married, you sleep in the same bed, you'll make up. And we won't know you made up, but we'll still hold the grudge. So you need to work that out, take it to God." And in 29 years, that's what we've done. We've always just taken it to God. And I see Slasher Chick is saying I fell asleep to your game the other day. Yeah, because it's like looking at TV also. Yes, you may get over it and they won't. Exactly. And so if you want to keep the peace, then you definitely, want to handle your handle. If you know that you really and truly are going to step, then, maybe you have to communicate that with your circle because you may need assistance. But other than that, unless it's something that you think you can handle, then you really should handle it in house and keep as many people out of your business as possible. But the thing is, in terms of transforming yourself and, doing that personal growth and self improvement, I knew so many wives that were so laser focused on, what their husbands were doing, how their husbands were doing it, and they lost sight of who they were. I remember our realtor when we moved to Charlotte, and her husband was retired. He had recently retired. I don't know if he retired or he just didn't get picked up or whatever, but she was a realtor. She had just became a realtor, and I don't know. She just reminded me of someone that would have pledged in undergrad. And I asked her, I said, "Did you pledge, in undergrad?" And she was like, "No, I pledged my husband. I was too busy running behind him to pledge anything." And I was like, "Wow." Like, I couldn't even imagine being in college and being that engrossed in someone until I couldn't do what I wanted to do or experience something that I wanted to experience. Not saying that she wanted to pledge, but it sounded like she didn't do much of anything but go to his games and cheer him on. And not saying that it's not right or wrong, but at the same time, how was she growing? She was helping him along, but what was she doing for herself? And that's why I feel like this topic, transforming your personal relationship, is um, a really important information to get out. Again, I also believe that this information is evergreen because that actually happened. I had that conversation with her. It was 1999, and we are in 2024. And I believe that type of mentality is still happening. So it is definitely still relevant. And I believe in 2034, 2044, 54, 3000. Unfortunately, I think that that's still going to be relevant. I know a lot of doctors' wives, and when we were raising our children, a lot of them, that's all they did was raise their children. There's nothing wrong with it. Being a stay-at-home mom is a lot. It is an absolute lot. But they weren't even considering doing anything else. And once their children got grown, and it's interesting when you have children and when they're young, they're going to grow up. Every year they're getting a year older, but you never imagine them being adults until they are. And when they are, it's like, wait, what happened? I remember you when you were a baby. I often stare at my children in awe because I just can't even believe that they or who they are, because I literally remember being pregnant with them. I remember life without them. I remember them being babies, toddlers, every stage of their life as if it was yesterday. But once they get grown, if you have not been on the path of, you know, improving yourself, then you are going to have a challenge with how to move forward in life. And that's a lot of the women that I coach, especially they if their spouses were doctors or professional athletes. They are having a hard time. They're coming to me now. "Oh, Sherry, can you help me? I'm trying to figure out a career. Can you, like just different things." And it's like, wow. And especially when I look at football wives, because the ones that were around my time, because it was like when I was doing my businesses, they thought I was crazy. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to go to lunch with them because I had a business luncheon, or, I'm doing something else. And they would be like, "Girl, like you doing the most." Am I? Am I really, so now they're looking at it like, "Wow, what was that you were doing back in the day? Are you still doing that? Oh, what else is going on?" Now they find themselves being more curious. Their children are now graduating from college. They're complete empty nesters, and they're looking around like, "Wait, but what about me?" And you can't stop life at the end, or this is not the end for sure. I have a good another 50 plus years, but you can't stop and just say, like, "What about me?" At every step of the way, you have to have you in that equation. So again, we're going to I'm going to give you some information, hopefully, that will help you transform in your personal relationship. So let's get our pen and paper out so we can start taking some notes. And if you know some friends, some sister girlfriends, some cousins, some aunties, mothers, even heck, grandmothers, anyone in your life, fathers, brothers, that can also use this information. Please be sure to share this video out if you think your circle really needs to hear it, and I appreciate you. All right, so the first thing you want to do is develop your self-awareness. And you'll hear me say self-awareness so much, and that deals with emotional intelligence. It deals with a lot, and I'm going to say it to the end of time, because a lot of people really aren't developing their self-awareness. They take it for granted. I don't care if you know your name, where you're from. No, but who are you really? you know and so you want to take time for introspection to understand your values, your needs, and areas for growth. Now, journaling can really help you gain clarity on what fulfills you and what you want to work on. I'm telling you, I have so many journals that are filled with so much information. And I remember I started journaling when I was about 20 years old, and it was so therapeutic. I would write about my dreams, about the day, about my successes, challenges, hopes. I would write my dreams down in my journal so that I can go back to them. And when I achieved those dreams, I would be like, wow, this really happened, and it may be from another journal, two journals away. And I look back on that journal and realize that it did happen. But I always journaled and I enjoyed it. I always saw journaling as my thumbprint that I was leaving behind, some of my DNA, as you may, where if someone found it, they would know what some of my innermost thoughts were at this age, at this time. I think that is one of the most precious gifts, because when I tell you, anytime I stumble upon a card or anything that my mother signed or a note that she wrote me, I love it. First of all, I love seeing her handwriting, but then just seeing, reading the things that she said is just so touching. Now, I feel like with a journal, not only will my future's future see my handwriting, but they'll feel my soul in that, and that's something that doesn't die. So, if you haven't started journaling, I highly recommend. And I know there's a lot of things that we can do, on different not social, but just different platforms that makes it available for writing. But what if something happened to you and your people don't know that you've been putting some of your best work, you know, on a platform? They just wiped your computer clean. They was just really looking for pictures that you may have had on your device. They weren't thinking about all the different accounts that you had, and, all the information that may have been on there. And that's all intellectual property, and it just gets wiped away. But if they see it in a book form, 9 times out of 10, they're going to leaf through it and they're going to feel some kind of way to get rid of it. So they'll keep it because they know that there's something in here. I know there's something in here that's of value. Even if it's not a dollar bill, it's of value, this knowledge, this information. So consider keeping a pen and paper journal. All right. Next, you want to practice self love. Build a positive relationship with yourself by treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and respect. You want to engage in self care activities that nurture your mind, body, and soul. When you practice self love and you showcase that you truly love yourself and you deserve nothing but the best, you'll be treated as such. People tend to take care of things that take care of themselves. They really take care of things that they value and that they know has value. Now, you can look like $1 million all you want, but if you're not treating yourself like that, then that's how you really are going to be treated. That's why, unfortunately, in some cases, you may see people that may have long money, a lot of money, or whatever, or have a successful career. They could be the most beautiful, the most handsome, the best dressed, the well put together, but internally, they haven't done the work. They haven't practiced self awareness, developed self awareness. They haven't practiced self love. And And that's how they treat themselves. Now, on the outside, they look one way, but with behind closed doors, they may not really have that confidence. And their partners know that and treat them as such. They don't always treat them how they look. And so that's why it's important for you to, again, develop self awareness, know your values, and live on that, stand on that, 10 toes down on that. Practice self love and, engage in self care activities. Treat yourself with kindness. Be nice to yourself. People are so into the visual of being nice to other people. Oh, I said hi, or I helped. How are you to yourself? What are the expectations that you have for yourself? Are you compassionate to yourself? Do you give yourself grace as you do others? You know, and are you respecting yourself? And respecting yourself is understanding what you will put up with and what you won't. And that's because of the respect you have. When you have respect for yourself, that's when people respect you and your boundaries. So definitely practice self love. The next thing, you want to set your personal goals. And when you set your personal goals, you are going to be identifying qualities or habits that you'd like to develop. And Slasher Chick, if her live tonight was amazing. You might want to put, if you are still here, Slasher Chick, put the link to your live from tonight in the comment section. I believe as a mod you can do that, where she talked about, the 12 year, the 12 month, I mean, the 12-week year, and setting goals and having intention around that. And I really enjoyed that live. And I know she's going to do many more around that because she just really touched the top of the iceberg with it. But, and that's something that I hold dear too, that same concept that she used. I'm in the process of developing a journal and workbook around it so that you can actually capture that information to achieve your goals in the 4 quarters of the year. But you definitely want to identify the qualities or habits you like to develop, such as maybe being a better communicator, having more patience or confidence, and set achievable goals for self improvement in those areas. So, you definitely want to be an effective communicator, an active listener. You want to have patience for yourself, and definitely patience for others. Take the time. Communication, let me tell you, is a funny thing because a person can look like they're listening to you, right? And you might say a lot of things, say a lot of words, and or they may say a lot of things and a lot of words, and you're looking like, yeah, I'm listening, but in your mind you're like, would they stop talking? I need them to just stop. Just really, that's enough. Okay, I get it, I got it, that's it. And you really aren't listening to them. You didn't hear a word they said. So you need to learn patience, hear them out, help them along the way with it, but definitely hear them out with respect. And you also want to have confidence, believe in yourself. Know that you are worthy. I was talking with someone today and they were sharing how they were felt like they were being disrespected and degraded, in what they were doing. And I was like, you're giving them too much power, because literally that person just a moment before that was telling me about all the amazing projects they worked on, all of the things, the systems that they improved, and just things that they did before life changed for them. And life happens, and sometimes when life happens, it can tear you apart, but for a moment, because everything can be rebuilt, but it just has not been rebuilt overnight, and it definitely takes time and action. And so, I'm sharing with that person that you just finished telling me all the great things that you've accomplished. You have to build your confidence back up, because you're giving them too much power over you for them to be able to say whatever they want, and it impact you so much. So definitely, set your personal goals, and let your personal goals include being a better communicator, having more patience and confidence. You also want to expand your interests. So you want to pursue hobbies, classes, or experiences that allow you to grow as an individual outside of the relationship, because this will cultivate independence and self reliance. And I know when I met my husband, we dated 3.5 years before getting married. And when we met, his best friend that he grew up with, I went to college with, introduced us. And, when we met, I had just graduated from college and I was coaching girls basketball. I was working in New York. I was working on a campaign for a mayor. So sometimes when he wanted to go out, I was like, I can't. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Now, sometimes he was able to come to some of my games, to come with me to some of the political events, and do some of those things. And there were times when I was able to go with him to things, but I didn't stop, drop, and roll. I did not stop my world because he played for the New York Giants. And I'm like, ooh, no, I had a life too. And I felt like what I was doing was just as important. So, I expanded my interests. And because of that, I grew up that way. I grew up doing different things. My mother had me involved in different organizations. I played sports. I lived my life. And, it kept me booked and busy. And I continued that throughout our dating as well as our marriage. I always had different interests. And those interests may or may not have been the interests of other wives that I encountered. But that wasn't my problem. There were many times that I was unable to go to different luncheons with the wives, and they would be like, "Oh, Sherry, we're going here or there," and I'm like, "Oh, I have a business meeting," or I'm doing, and they would always look at me like, "What? Like, what do you mean you have? What are you doing?" They just could not understand why I would have an interest in doing something outside of NFL. And I'm like, this is not who I am. This is just so happens to be my husband's employer. So I have to keep it moving for myself, keeping myself relevant. And I am so glad to this moment that I have been like that. And, it's interesting sometimes, if I encounter people and for some reason they find out, what my husband's former career was, and they're like, "Well, why are you doing this?" As if what I'm doing is poo-pah. But, like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, does anybody ask Anderson Cooper, Gloria Vanderbilt's son, whose grandparents were like the wealthiest people in America at one point, why is he on television? Or do people ask Kathy Gifford, why is she on television doing what she like? People do things because they love it. And it's amazing. A lot of people in this world have not encountered people that are really doing their passion and purpose. They only see people that do what they have to do, to get by. And I love what I do, and I'm fortunate to be able to do what I do. And that's all I know. But it just always having interests and doing something that brings you purpose in life is so important. You want to communicate openly and share your personal growth journey with your partner. As a supportive partner will encourage your positive changes without trying to change your core values or identity. So be mindful if you get into a relationship and a person is like, you don't need to do that. I don't want you to do that. I remember when we first went to New Orleans, and the general manager, I love general managers of teams. I was talking with the general manager, and he was like, "So, what is it that you do?" And I thought that was the oddest question. And I had asked one of the wives, like, "What did you think about, has he ever asked you that?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, what do you say?" And I told him, I have my own business, but I asked her, "Well, what did you say when he asked you that?" And she said, "I told him nothing. Such and such doesn't want me to do nothing, so I don't do nothing." And I was like, "What? Like, you good with that?" Now, fast forward, you know, maybe 8 to 10 years later, her and her husband got a divorce, and she was like a fish out of water. But the success story is, or the praise report, or the testimony is, she now is a judge. So she didn't finish undergrad when they were together, and when they broke up, they had one child, and she moved back to the state where her undergrad was, and finished her undergraduate degree, worked in a particular industry and did extremely well, and went back to get her master's in that industry with that emphasis, and then worked in that, still in that same industry, and went to law school, passed the bar on the first time, on the first try, and worked as a lawyer for many years, and then became appointed to the courts, to be a judge. And it's just such a remarkable story. And I wish I could go into more detail, but I don't want to put her business all out here like that. But, this is what it did happen when she recognized that she had value, that it wasn't about chasing behind one person. It was about honoring who she was, respecting who she is, and doing her thing. And I was looking up the statistics because it changes, it flip-flops periodically. I do know that the divorce rate, and I always look at it as the success rate of marriages, is the success rate is 50%. So if the success rate is 50%, you know what the divorce rate is. And for professional athletes, and in NFL in particular, the success rate is 30%. So 30% that are married remain married. Now, I've been married 29 years, so we are in that success rate number. um, and I won't say it wasn't, it's not, it hasn't been challenging in that way, but things change and you evolve, but you have to evolve together, and or just respect one another. And communication and communicating openly is one of the best ways to do that. All right. So, with all of that said, the key is making changes for yourself, not just for your partner's approval. As you evolve into your best self, it can have a transformative effect on the dynamic and health of your relationship. But the motivation should come from within, not from external pressure. So definitely don't do things to that you might feel it could be peer pressure, it could be any type of pressure. And I remember, one year with a particular team, and like I said, I always had my own business doing my thing. I'm trying to tell you, when computers came out, I was all over it. I remember my first laptop, and I had a platform that I had been building, and I was utilizing Access, and because I had clients literally all over the world. And I remember one of the wives was like, real curious about what I was doing, and she was asking me like, "Sherry, what is that? How do you do what you do?" And so I showed her how I did it, and but it was my passion. Like, I loved it. I had high school students working for me. I had a really nice office in my home, and they would come after school. I had one of my brothers in New Jersey. He was managing like my PO box that I had in Jersey, and my bank. So when I got, because back then we didn't have Cash App and Zelle and none of that. But the checks were delivered to my PO box and the applications, and he would always, we had a real system going on. It was a big time system for real. And so she was asking me like, "Sherry, what's how you doing this?" So I shared it with her. And for her, because she just really wanted to make her own money. So for her, it was a money grab. And I say she wanted to make her own money because I'm trying to tell y'all. Mm. So her husband in particular, he would live up to whatever his salary was for that season. Like, if he made a million, he lived $1 million. Like, he spent $1 million in a season. So when the season was over, he would always have to take out a loan from other players or whatever. And I guess she was just like, I just need my own money. But it wasn't, I mean, yeah, it was good money, but it wasn't to be done as a money grab. And so she never had that success, and it just made her even that much more frustrated, because she ended up pouring way more money, like, for the technology, for the systems, the build and all that. And I'm like, I gave you the blueprint, and it's a blueprint that I created. I have no problem sharing it. Listen, y'all, I have no problems sharing things because I know that there is a secret sauce, and there's certain ingredients that, you know, maybe it's my water, maybe it's my particular season, It might be my pan that I use, that has been seasoned throughout the decades, that will make it taste and hit just a little different. And so, no matter how much you might follow it, it's just going to be different. And that's really with anyone. If you have something that you are killing the game with, that's your calling, if you share with me, it's not going to hit the same when I do it. And that's just how it is. And you have to be okay with that and just put your own twist in it. Don't try to do something exactly like the other person. Put your own twist in it. And she kept trying to do it exactly how I did it, and she didn't have the system I had. It just wasn't like that. So yeah, it was easy for me. It came to me. And listen, I don't know if you'll remember 105 in Park. What's the name? It was on BET with I believe Sway and another woman was the host. 106 in Park. I said 105th in Park. I think it's 106 in Park. I know. Let me tell you, Slasher Chick. I was gonna write a book, like a fiction but not fiction novel. Ooh wee. And you know what? It's so interesting in real life. Like every single thing since I was growing up, as a child, nothing normal ever happens to me. Like everything is extraordinary. And not saying no one else is not extraordinary. Everyone is, but for some reason, myself be so like for real. And but when the experience I had, when my husband had his career, was just unbelievable. So yeah, I need to. Um, right, you don't have the sauce. I can give you the rest. Here's the recipe. Here you go. But guess what? Some of those ingredients where you live, they don't even sell them. They don't even sell those ingredients. So yeah. Yeah, I know. And let me tell you, I found this guy and I wish I can. There's been so many things, it's like sometimes you get so many like opportunities until you just have to sit down and you just are like, you know what? I don't even know. Like, nope, I'm not going to do it. Because I met this guy who was willing to write the novels and I read his books. Like, I got his books and I loved his style. And I was like, oh, yeah, he would turn my stuff together. Ooh. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened. Like that, things that happened before my mother got sick, it's hard for me to kind of focus on what life was like. And maybe that's why I talk about it because I'm trying not to forget because it's almost like when my mother got sick with ALS, literally my family, my husband and my children and I, we stopped our world, like stopped it. It's almost like if the world was a place where you can step off, that's what we did. And so I look at life as before ALS and after ALS. And before ALS, things were just crazy. And that's why I think when we did move back to Charlotte, I was approached to be on, they were going to do a Real Housewives of Charlotte. And I was like, what? Like, no, thank you. Because I knew what those franchises were doing. But I think it's because they knew that, like, life was like that. But, my mother's, caring for her was one of the best life lessons I had. It was very humbling. It taught me patience. It taught me compassion. It taught me things that, I needed. And so I'm very grateful for that experience. But it's definitely life before and life after. Um I could change some names and locations. I know. And look, I feel like it would be like not The Help, but you know how like The Help was when they were reading the book. Did you see that movie The Help? And when the women were reading the books, they were like, "Wait a minute, like that sounds like me. That sounds like you. Hold on." And somebody had to say to them, "No, no, no, that's not about y'all. That's not about us." But they knew it was. That's how it would be. I know it. Cuz some of the things that people and I'm listen, I'm in the cut. I just mind my business. But some things that people would tell me, I used to be like, yo. And I'm so glad that like my husband was not a you know how some men are like uh, I could call him a lot of things, like gossipers, and they just are like women. He's not like that. So we never could chop it up in that way. So I kind of had to keep things to myself. Like wow, because he wouldn't care. He'd be like, well, I don't give a damn about that, you know. So we really couldn't chop it up. But you know, I think I was that one that they would feel real confident and secure, you know, telling me things, and they were right because I wasn't. That some stuff. What? Who would believe? First of all, who's gonna believe me, and who would I tell? Like I wouldn't want to tell that. Like I shouldn't. This shouldn't have left you to tell me. So, you know, yeah, if it's meant to be, and maybe you know because I share some things with my kids, and maybe one of them, my son already has written one book, and he's penning another one now. He should be almost done. He'll probably be done before the summer's over. So who knows, you know, some things might be laced in there. I know it. I am too. I am too. Yeah, this, yeah, it would be mind blowing. Like it was such a different world. It was such a different world. Oof. Yeah. Right. That's what he would be like. He'd be like, listen, I'm just trying to be out here and work. Like, yo, I can't worry about that. I gotta check my position. Like, I don't give a damn. Like, that's a distraction. Stop playing. So I'll be like, all right, you know, and that's kind of how I did it. Yeah, I have to finish my journal first. But remember, I'm gonna do that this weekend. I could finish it right now if I wanted to. Like, I think Slash a Chick with the journal, the thing was, okay, I have the 25-page one and it went over very well. I have it in a PDF format. It's something that I shared with my pilot group and they all really loved it. It's very user friendly because as I was learning more about the 12-week year, I kept saying, I need a journal to go with this. So that's why I created that and I used it for my WAMs, right? And when I wanted to expand on it, I said, I really want to make this into a full fledged journal, planner, workbook. And when I started doing it, I'm doing it on Canva. When I started it, I was just kind of chilling in bed one night and just started creating it. And it was so easy, it made me nervous because I know once it's complete, it's going to blow up. And I don't know if I'm ready for all that. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's almost like how it was for my jewelry business. You know, it was supposed to be this hobby and, you know, and I'm feeling like this journal is supposed to be just a compliment to my coaching and ah, but I do want to get it out there because I don't see anything like it. And I think a lot of people will appreciate it and find a lot of value in it. So I'm going to finish it this weekend. Yes, I am. I will finish it this weekend. Yep. Yeah, I know. You'll never be ready. You know, if you always try and get ready, you won't get ready. You just won't. Like what's ready? What does ready look like? What is does ready look different tomorrow than it does today? I don't think it does. Mm-mm, not at all. So, y'all, I'm glad that you have been here and tuned in to transform in your personal relationship. I hope that you were able to glean a nugget or two from the information that I shared. I'm telling you, whatever relationship you are in, do not lose yourself. Treat yourself well so that others will know how to treat you too. Respect yourself. Think highly of yourself. Know that you are worthy and stay booked and busy. You know, fit them in. Don't be fitted in. You fit them in. And I remember my son's first girlfriend in high school. He was in 10th grade or ninth or 10th grade. And his girlfriend always wanted him to come over and always like available for him. If ever he called her, she was available. And I was like, you gotta break up with her. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, she's not busy enough. She's too focused on you. I don't like that. Mm-mm. And I remember we were in Florida and we were at the ESPN. I don't know if you've ever been, but in Florida they have this ESPN like complex, and it's for youth sports, basketball, baseball, soccer, all those things. It is dynamic and a lot of national tournaments are held there. And one of my daughter's basketball teams was in the nationals, and so we were there as a family, and they had vendors. And so my son was walking around, and he always, since second grade, my son always had a business, so he kept money. And he's an entrepreneur, I'm trying to tell you. And so he was looking at the jewelry, and I'm looking like, oh, he's trying to buy me something. I went over to him. I said, what you doing? What you looking for? And he said, oh, I'm gonna get my girlfriend a necklace. What? You gonna spend your money on her? And he was like, yeah, mom, I'm thinking about getting her this necklace. It was a really pretty silver necklace with her initial on it. And in my head, I started counting the months of when they started dating. I was like, 1, 2, 3. And it was 6. And I promise you, I always said in high school, especially in high school, I never wanted my children to date anyone longer than 6 months. I felt like after 6 months, that's just too much. And so I was like, okay, yeah, it's time for me to kick in and do what I do best. So when we got back to Charlotte, I made sure he was booked and busy for the rest of the summer. And it worked because, like I want to say within a month or so after we got back, she broke up with him. She was like, you don't have enough time for me. You're not making me a priority. I was like, hell no, you're not. Not in the 10th daggone grade. Mm-mm. And so they broke up. And that's how I roll. And that's how I rolled in, when they were younger. But now, I mean, I get it now. You definitely have to date someone, I believe, before you really seriously know that they are the one for at least 4 seasons, because you don't know how somebody responds to things in the summer, winter, spring, or fall. So you definitely want to see them in all of those seasons before you determine, like, you know what, this is the one. And also, it takes 6 months for a new habit to form. So if someone is being an imposter, or their representative was who you met, within 6 months, you'll realize who they really are anyway. And trust, when you see who they are, believe it. Definitely believe it. The girl didn't have no business. No, she didn't have no business. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, he ain't making you a priority because he's a kid. Exactly. That's what I said. I said, first of all, you don't even drive. You don't have a car. The only way you're gonna get to her is by us. And so that right there, even if you don't have anything to do, guess what we do? And you can't walk to her house; it's too far. So I don't know what she's expecting. And see, to me, that was the okey doke. That's why when they first started dating, I told my husband, I said, we going over to the parents' house. I wanted the parents to know, my son, this young man right here, he has parents that love him. He's not looking for no second mother or father. You don't have to feed him. You don't have to do nothing for him. He got all that in our house. So his mother, or her mother and father were like, what? Like they couldn't even believe that we came to the house like that. I was like, yeah, I'm coming to the house. What's up? This my son. You don't have to worry about loving on him, because I knew my son is a great young man, amazing young man. And I didn't want her to try to like mother him up and wifey her daughter to him. None of that. No. Mm-mm. Nope. He's good right here. Mm-mm. Yes. Yes. That's right. You need to be a kid too. Get you something to do, and do it and love it and have a good time. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, but don't lose yourself. And stay, stay busy, but don't lose yourself. So I'm just going to quickly revamp all the things that we went through. And so the first one is to develop self-awareness. The next is practice self-love, set personal goals, expand your interests, and communicate openly. All right. I hope that all sinks in. If you don't mind leaving a comment at the end of this recording on the comment section of under the video once it's complete. All right, everyone, that's all I have for you. It's been my pleasure sharing this all with you as well. And I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to try to do a pre-record tomorrow, but I'll see. I'll see. I have a very long and busy day. I see Big Boy Snack Johnny. Okay, ask me the question. What's the question? Yes, keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. No, I can't. I'm sorry. But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. All right, everyone. Have a good night. It's been my pleasure.